I used to work in a Filipino cafe. And
Right.
so I had to, every once in a while, like the orders would come in Tagalog, and I would just listen for like flavors and numbers.
I see.
Dalawang desana, or like, dalawang ube, and then anytime I heard the word putte, but like said a certain way, I knew like, oh, okay, I know, it's like they're talking about me.
So your mom is a Filipino.
Yeah.
And your dad is American.
Yeah.
This is your first in the Philippines.
It is, yeah.
It took so long.
Well, when we were growing up, when I was growing up, like both my parents worked full time, and we're like working class people, so we didn't have a lot of money. We like for a long time we were like just getting by, and my parents worked really hard, and like my whole family was like working together, and like my lolo would take me to school, pick me up from school, and then spend the whole day with me, while my parents were taking like night classes, trying to like just kind of get ahead. And it wasn't only until recently that my mom started, because she's just like a really industrious Filipino woman.
Hardworking.
Yeah, hardworking, and so she started like moving up at her job, and we have like comfortable money now. So now it's like, oh, now we have money to go to the Philippines. We're like growing up, like no, we were poor kids. Like I grew up like in Reseda, like which is not like super
So how
super poor.
many siblings do you have?
I have 3 little brothers.
3 little brothers.
Yeah. So there's 4 boys. Yeah.
So are they also into music?
Yeah. They love music. My younger brother actually has started playing guitar, which is funny. I wish he had done that before I moved to San Francisco, but because they live in Los Angeles. But my dad plays piano and composes music.
Also, you're a musical fan?
Yeah. So he taught me to play piano when I was a kid, and then my parents bought me a guitar when I was 13, and so it's just been music the whole time ever since then.
But of course, there are music artists that you listen to while growing up. Who are they?
Oh yeah. I really love John Mayer and Amos Lee and Nora Jones.
Okay,
Those
John
are like,
Mayer.
those are like my kind of like my initial like songwriting and musical inspirations, like my mainstream ones. And then it's funny, when I was in high school, like back in the U.S., like young Fil-Ams are like usually, and even like biracial kids like me, like we're like starved for like mainstream representation, right? And so on YouTube, like circa like 2000, I don't know, like 2009, 2010, all of these, they're like artists like Gabe Bundock and like Eja Raphael and Jeremy Passion, who like started off as like really small, just like local Fil-Ams like in California, and then blew up on the internet. And I discovered them like at a young age, so I just grew up listening to all their songs. Actually, I learned to play guitar initially by watching Gabe Bundock videos and like learning his songs. And like they've made it over here, I think, like a little bit.
So is it safe to say that they are instrumental in terms of you getting to music?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, they were the ones that showed me like, oh yeah, I can just write songs and I can just put them on the internet. Like that's where that inspiration comes from. Like I didn't even like before, like that was not even like a thing in my mind. That was not even a possibility. I didn't think I could do that. And then all of a sudden they were doing it, and I was like, wait, yeah, we can totally just do this now. Like I don't have to like write songs and then take keep them secret or something. Like I can just like.
When did you realize that it's really about time for you to be a musician full time? Or is it really full time?
So, well, I mean, it is now. Yeah. Well, I mean, so getting to the end of high school, right? Every kid has this talk, especially every Filipino kid has this talk with their mom about like what they're gonna do with their lives and what they're gonna study in college. And my mom just wanted me to go to college, and she didn't want to like kill my passion for anything or like really not push me to do what I want to do.
But you wanted,
although
she
kind
wanted
of,
you to have a dream job.
yeah, she would have. I remember it's like, you sure you don't want to be an accountant or like maybe you study music business or like maybe be a nurse,
Very
It's like, you sure you don't want to do any of those things? And I was like, no, we have a few accountants in our family now. I think I want to study singing. I want to study actually opera is what I went to school for.
So
Yeah, opera and musical theater is what I specialized in for a long time, and then I graduated.
So you're a classical singer.
Yeah. That's what my training is in, at least. And then I don't know. There was a huge journey. I stepped away from music for a little bit, and I actually had this really great talk with Gabe Bondoc. Actually, after a concert that he did, I met him, and he gave me a pep talk at a really vulnerable time in my life, and made me realize, like, yeah, I really want to do music like full time. So now, right now I'm situated in San Francisco, in the Bay Area, and I sing, professionally, and I'm also right now a music teacher for like K through 5 students at a school. I teach them to play the drums and like the guitar and sing together and stuff. So I consider that still being a musician,
Still part of the
Yeah. And in the meantime, I'm building up my artist profile in collaboration with Curve Entertainment, with the single that we released to streaming platforms everywhere, You and Me, and just trying to put more music out there.
You and Me. Well, based on the title, it's like a love song.
Yeah, it's a love song.
What's the song about?
So it's funny. So the story of that song is in 2020, I was halfway through my first year of my master's degree, where I was like studying live music, like performing in theaters, where like people would all have to crowd into a room and watch you, and then all of a sudden lockdown and no more theater, no more live performance. Everybody go back to your rooms, and I was stuck in my little dorm room with just me and my guitar, and I had to kind of like return to my roots a little bit of when I was just a kid playing guitar in his bedroom, making videos. And I hated it, I'll be honest. It was a terrible experience. And the whole time...
Did you do what other artists did, like go to streaming platforms and perform for...
Yeah, and I did a lot of that too, actually. After the first couple weeks of just like, oh my gosh, like doing nothing and just staring at my ceiling and playing guitar. And I was working on this song where all I could think in that moment was everywhere that I would rather be than in my room playing my guitar. And that's how I started, I came up with, because I was just thinking of scenarios of like being on the beach, you know what I mean, with the summer breeze, or like being somewhere with a special person, like just cuddled on the couch. And that's where I came up with like, what would my perfect day be? And it's like, cause I wanna be your perfect day, you're my perfect day, baby, you take my breath away, like that's where like I wanted to go with that song. And so yeah. So that's how that song was written.
Okay. You mentioned about John Mayer earlier.
Oh,
What's
yeah.
your favorite John Mayer song?
I think the one that I always play, and the one that speaks to me at the most, that has spoken to me at the most moments in my life, is "Stop This Train." And it's just a song about growing up and having to come to terms with it. And every time I reach another milestone or another like stepping stone in my life, it's like, yeah, this is happening, and there's no stopping this ride. There's no stopping this train. You just got to keep going and just enjoying it as much as you can the entire time. Or or maybe sometimes you have an existential crisis, and that's okay too.
Now, of course, we know that you're here in Manila to promote your music. Are you planning to have collaboration with local artists? Is it in the pipeline?
Hopefully, yeah, one day. God, that would be amazing. I recently discovered Zach Tabudlo. He's like really amazing. God, if I ever got to work with him, that'd be a dream come true. There's another. She's popular on TikTok. I think her artist name is Pupa. Pupa. She's like kind of getting a little big right now too. And I also so the team of producers that worked on my single "You and Me" also worked on the recent album by Kaki Pangilinan about her space, and everybody who worked on that album just did a fantastic job, and like that's a no skip album for me as well. There's so much great music coming out of the Philippines right now, especially like around like pandemic. And so yeah.
Because right now it's easier to produce music.
Oh yeah.
The only problem is if there will be listeners or there will
Right. Right.
That's the
Yeah, that's the challenge. You know, it's funny. So I was in San Francisco when we were producing, when I was collaborating with Kindred Productions. That's the team of producers on You and Me, and it was a very interesting experience. It was so 21st century because I produce some of like my own song. I have another song called Hitchhiker on streaming platforms that I self-produced and self-recorded. So I have all that equipment in like my bedroom, professional grade equipment, and I know how to use it. And I had already made this demo of You and Me, just like an experiment, and I sent it over to them, all the different tracks. They sent me back an instrumental, and then the whole summer I was recording stuff in my bedroom and then putting it on Google Drive and then sending it to them, and then they would like upload their instrumental to Google Drive, and then I would download it, and like that's how we made the song. Is like from other sides of the planet.
Yeah.
Just
but
like
before you have to be in the studio.
yeah, right? And we made like this, I don't know, the work that they did on that song was magical. And we were just recording demos and tracks and sending them back and forth to each other, like with a 15-hour time difference. And it was just amazing that we put it together. I was like, whoa, that's so cool. 21st century.
You're biracial. Is it, what's the biggest challenge of being a biracial person entering the music business? Is there any?
There are definitely some unique challenges to being a biracial person. I mean, like, it's not like it's made my life worse in any way. Like, it's not like in a way that I can complain. It's just like trying to, like, the plight of every biracial child is trying to figure out where you belong, and what your identity is, and like kind of basically who you are, So it's like growing up. We didn't have, like, my parents, my Lolo communicates in grunts mostly. He's like a very quiet guy. And my mom and my dad are working full time, and they're taking night classes, and everybody's speaking English. So I didn't grow up speaking Tagalog. And still it's like, it's pretty limited. And so it's like, sometimes it's difficult to feel, like fully Filipino.
It's hard to fit in.
It's hard to fit in. But then, like, growing up, like, there would be like, I don't know, any other community, like the white kids or whatever, in school, and I just, like, I didn't get them, you know what I mean? Because I grew up truly Fil-Am, right? Like Filipino American is kind of like its own experience, and I always felt the most welcome and the most understood in the Fil-Am community, anywhere I went, my cousins, I spent a lot of time with them in their households, and they're full Filipino, and so I just grew up like with this culture that, like, people, and it's totally understandable. They look at me and they don't realize that, like, yeah, this is what this guy's actual cultural background is, like I have a lot of friends who are not Filipino, and then but they understand, like, oh no, like Kurt, like, understands at least Fil-Am culture, like, really deeply, you know what I mean? Like, he knows the customs, he knows, like, the attitudes, he knows the people, he knows the food, the amount of times that I've tried to introduce,
that makes you Filipino.
Like, growing up in the culture, I think, yeah, that's what has, at least, I don't know if it makes me Filipino, but because in some ways I don't know if that's totally for me to say, you know what I mean? That's like, for a community to accept you is what makes you that. But like I feel most closely aligned in my personal life, like where I feel most comfortable and where I identify the most and where I feel the most at home is definitely amongst Filipino communities, because it's like family, and Filipinos, anytime there's like yeah. Well, I mean, because like I had this friend who I think it was like maybe a tradition here on this side as well, but like in the US, like Manny Pacquiao circa like 2009 2010, anytime there was a Pacquiao fight, big old party, right? It was like basically, like potluck and everything, right? Everybody's bringing like all the pancit on the lumpia, you know what I mean?
What's your favorite Filipino food, by the way?
Kare kare. Yeah. You know, the amount of times I've tried
Have you
to
tried
introduce
the
that.
strap that together?
I mean, I've never made it. You know what I mean? It's like kind of, I don't know. I don't know where to get like, you know, the tripe and like all the that and Dinagoan. I really love that. Anytime I've tried to introduce that to somebody too, I always just tell them the same thing that my titos and titas would tell all the kids and any white boyfriend that came around. It's chocolate beef. You know, it's chocolate. It's fine. It's fine. Don't tell him what it is. It's fine. It's good. He'll like it.
But do you cook yourself? I mean,
Yeah. Make adobo. You know, it's like the kind of the only one that I know how to make. And then I don't know. Sometimes I'll go buy longanisa, and then I just won't talk to anybody for the rest of that day. You know, you know the longanisa burps. They're real. Yeah.
Anyway, let's go back to your
Oh
music.
yeah.
How do you describe your music?
You know, it's funny. I try to be like a really eclectic musician, so it's hard to like pin it down because the two songs that I have on streaming platforms right now are kind of like very different from one another. But they're also very similar in that like I'm always trying to be a storyteller. You know, I always want to make music that like speaks to people. So I don't know, mushy music. Yeah.
And what are your plans here? How long are you going to stay here for?
Right now, for this trip, I'm here just for 2 weeks. I'm mainly here to perform for a benefit concert for a child house.
Child house.
Yeah.
Have you met any Canadians?
I've not actually yet, but I will tomorrow actually. Yeah, and that you know, I'm just thankful that I get to do that performance. Just because, like, you know, again, fulfills kind of like a mission statement for me as a musician. Is, you know, anytime you the ultimate goal for any musician should be able to help people with your music, and anytime you get to do that, that's reason enough to do anything, you know. So.
That's great to hear. But anyway, Kurt, thank you very much for your generous answers. And,
Oh, thank you.
I hope we.
Sorry, I ramble a lot.
It's alright. I'm gonna just invite the viewers to stream your songs.
Oh yeah. Hello everyone. This is Kurt Tijamo. You can find me on all platforms at Kurt Tijamo, KurtTijamo, where you can find my latest single, You and Me, released in collaboration with Curve Entertainment. You can also find me on Instagram at Kurt Tijamo Music, and on YouTube by the same name, Kurt Tijamo Music. So,
Thank you.
thank you very much.